Alright, what's up everyone? Today we're going to be doing a guide for Raiden, and I've actually been really looking forward to this guide because this character is busted. Like, top 5 character, if not better. He might be like top 2 in the game. Really strong character. I've been playing him quite a bit since the game came out, so I have a good understanding on the character, and I just want to provide you guys the best guide as I possibly could, and I really do hope it helps. And my name is Avirk. You might know me from Mortal Kombat 11. I've played in a ton of tournaments. And before we start, just be sure to subscribe to DashFight for more character guides, and check out their website for all things FGC. Alright, now let's get into the guide. Let's go over a general overview of the character before we get into the more in-depth stuff. So, first we'll go over special moves. So Raiden has a projectile. You can hold it. The reason why I think he's good is because as you're throwing these out, people are going to start holding down. So that's when you hold it, then they take more chip damage than they have to block. He also has a teleport, so let's say you anticipate projectile, teleport, punish. Don't throw it out too often, just because if you're too predictable with it, you teleport, you're gonna get punished if you do it too much. So just keep that in mind. He has a Superman, and you can also do it in the air. If you meter burn it, there's armor on it as well. It's good for, let's say, knock you down, you're constantly getting pressure, just wake up with this. It is unsafe, keep that in mind, so don't throw it out too much, don't use it in neutral. It's pretty situational, but it still is good. It's also good for a combo ender. And then he has down back 2. I haven't found much use for this, honestly, just because, I mean, it side switches, which is kind of nice, but I would much rather just take the damage and go into down forward 2, which is the special move you're going to use by far the most. This is his main combo route, and you can actually even hold it too. It's also good for an anti-air. Like, they're just guaranteed to get hit by this, like, for sure. And then you can do stuff like, you know, I won't get into combos yet, but you can do stuff like that. The other special move I want to go over is down back 3. It is unsafe, but it's good for chip out. So let's say they're really low on health, anything will kill them. Do stuff like this, and they'll just die for that. One thing I want to point out is, let's say you have Cyrax. I'll get into the cameo stuff, more cameo specific stuff later, but let's say you do a string. Do this. It's completely safe, and it plus, you're building meter, and I think it does like 10% chip or something insane like that. So that's a good way to use that. For his strings, let's go over his strings now. So, fastest punish is 1-2. The whole string is 1-2-3. The last hit ends in a high, so if they duck the last kick, you get punished for it. It is also +1 on block, so you can do stuff like this, backdash, go like this, poke. Once they're conditioned, that's when you start throwing after it. After you do that, you can also start staggering this, backing up, throwing them. So the next string is, I think this is one of his best strings. He has a bunch of good strings, to be honest. So this one is good because it has like a bunch of different stagger routes. So you can stagger this, which is +3. You can stagger this, and then do the whole thing. Try not to do the entire thing on block because it is -16, so you are going to get punished if you do the whole thing and just not cancel into anything. So I would recommend, you know, using a cameo to keep yourself safe. For Raiden, you could cancel the last punch, let's say block it, it's a down R1. Next we'll go over his mids, so 4-2-2, and then 4-2-2-4. That's good. You can also special cancel at 4-2-2, 4-2, or even the whole thing, so special cancel. Then he has, in my opinion, his best string, 4-4-3-4. I like using this string because at any point in the string you can just stagger, block, poke, anything, backdash, whatever, because it's all safe. So you can stagger this, or do the whole thing. Next he has 4-3-4. I wouldn't recommend throwing this out just from mid-screen, just because, let's say they do this. A lot of Raiden players, when they're starting out, they do this. So, and then just full punish from there. So don't throw that out, only use it for combos. So you hit this, that's when you're going to use this. So again, a lot of staggers. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is this move right here. Oh my god, this move is so annoying to deal with. The reason why this is so good is, yeah, it only does 8%, but it's pretty fast. You're never going to react to it. Like I'm telling you, you're never reacting to it. It's for sure a guess. So once you start hitting people with this, that's when they're going to start stand blocking, because it's just so annoying to get hit by it constantly. And that's when you go into this. So that's all of his strings. He also has standing 3-4, which can be used in certain combos you can go into, but I generally don't use this string. Sometimes you can use it as an anti-air, it's pretty situational. But that's really it for the general overview. I'll go into the more in-depth stuff in the next section, but these are the buttons you're going to want to use. From here, keep in mind this whiffs from max range, so that's going to whiff. So from max range, you want to do 4-2-2. So that's it for his best buttons and special moves and everything. The how to open people up and the situations you're going to use these buttons, I'll get into the next section, so we'll get into that now. Alright, now let's get into the more in-depth stuff of the guide. So it's going to be about how you want to open people up. So from here, you're going to want to throw a bunch of projectiles. It's kind of like a mind game because you can let go whenever you want. So let's say you charge this for like a second. People are going to start moving in because they know you're going to charge. And that's when you're going to start delaying it, do it quickly, you know. It's kind of up to you, so kind of feel it out, see what works. And then I want to go over this. So let's put this to block. This is +3. This and this are minus, but they're not punishable. The whole string is punishable though if you complete the whole thing. That's when you're gonna start doing stuff like standing 2 grab, standing 2 back up grab, standing 2 back up and whip punish them if they do a poke. And here, I'll show you what that's gonna look like. So I'll turn this on, put it to poke. So he's gonna poke back after I do standing 2, and since I'm plus, I can get away from him faster. And Raiden also has really good, he has really good like backdash and walk speed, so you can do stuff like punish. That's gonna start whipping, so start doing this. Don't do that. You get 50% off one mistake they make. That's when you can start staggering other stuff like this, for example. So they're gonna start getting annoyed with the let's turn this off. Alright, so they're gonna start getting annoyed with this mind game, and they're gonna start respecting the standing 2 more. That's when you're gonna start mixing them with standing 2 into this, and then you grab, then you do this, grab, and then you can start doing stuff like this. But it is -16, so don't ever finish the whole string on block. Do this instead. Do something safe that'll kind of make it so that they can't punish you. So for example, Jax is down R1, I'll do this. Right before the last hit, I'll do that. Completely safe. And then his standing 1-2, this is also +1. You can do the same thing, back up, whiff punish, 1 condition, 1-2 grab, 1-2 down 1. You can also do 1-2-3, but keep in mind, they do this. Pull punish right there. And then you go into whatever you want, so just be mindful of that. You can actually use this to your advantage though, because a lot of the time after you do this, people are just going to start holding down. That's when you can just start poking, backing up, doing whatever you want. Next we'll go over his forward 4. His forward 4 is good because again, it's safe from everywhere, so you can do forward 4, back up, forward 4. It's a little bit more strict for the timing compared to like the plus button you have, so if I set this down 1, it won't work in practice mode just because it's like instant down 1, so you can kind of get away with it from like max range. Even that is difficult. But again, when you're playing against someone online, they're not going to react to it as fast as it is in practice mode because it's instant. So from like max range, you can kind of get away with it, but you can still do stuff like block the poke, do that. You can stagger this, block, grab, or even this, block, back up, kind of reset it. So a lot of staggers, a lot of good pressure. And to open people up, generally people love blocking low. That's when you're going to start just abusing this move. It's only 8%, so it's completely safe. You're never going to react to it. And after people get hit by this like 3-4 times in a row, trust me, they're going to be blocking overhead. That's when you go into this, get big damage. And once they're in the corner, they don't know if you're going to go low or you're going to go overhead, you're going to stagger, back up. That's when you're going to start abusing throws as well. And with Raiden, one touch means you're losing 50% of your health, so people don't want to get opened up, so they're really scared to challenge your buttons. That's why you can get away with doing like -6 things into like pokes or backdashes or throws, or just kind of abusing your pressure. That's kind of how you want to open people up. A lot of overheads, a lot of lows. Start using your grabs. Stagger a lot, especially this string. Just stagger at any point. Stagger, do it down one, do whatever you want. Stagger, backdash, stagger, grab. That's what you want to do. Be aware of where you're plus. Where you're plus, if when they start getting conditioned, use a throw. When they're not conditioned, they're still trying to challenge it with like a 1-2. Stagger, back up, and then whiff punish. But that's how you're gonna want to open people up. It's pretty. It sounds simple, but once you're playing against someone, everyone plays differently. So you kind of want to, you know, have a feel what they're doing. If it's a player who's extremely reactionary and they have good reactions, they're gonna be testing your buttons more often, and that's when you're gonna want to backdash more often. Someone who does not react as fast, or they're not very good at reacting to staggers, that's when you're gonna want to stagger into a throw. But yeah, that's how you're gonna want to open people up, and that's, you know, a more advanced way of how to play the character. But we'll get into his combos and everything later on. Okay, next let's go over the cameo section of the guide. So the two cameos I would recommend are Jax with Raiden and Cyrax with Raiden. So if you're starting out with Raiden and you're not very comfortable with him, I recommend using Jax. That's who I've been using this character with primarily as well. And that's just because Jax is used as just a combo extender where you don't have to spend meter and you get like 50% damage for doing basically nothing. It's kind of insane. I think it will get nerfed in the future because you go like this and you can just follow up whatever you want. I won't get into the combo just yet. We'll do that in the B&B section. But that's kind of why I use Jax, just to get the most optimal amount of damage. And also I like using Jax for this. If they jump, so you do the unblockable, they're going to jump. If they jump, they get hit. If they don't, then you're completely safe. Also, if you do it, if it whiffs, you're also safe from here. So that's why I like using Jax. Cyrax, I think, is a better pick once you get more familiar with the character. I think this is the most optimal way to play the character. And that's just because of something like this, for example. Let's say you do like this. Here, I'll put this a block. Let's say you do this, then you cancel it with this, and normally you're unsafe, right? But you could do stuff like that. You do a ton of chip, you build your meter, your plus on block, it's really, really busted. So even off that one unsafe string I told you about, do this, go into that. And it's really annoying because I think down one special moves in this game are really strong with if you use a cameo to make it safe. And people are gonna start getting scared to counter poke you. That's when you can really start like abusing stuff like down one to grab because they're so scared about the special. And you can also combo off his overhead in the corner. So I won't show it just because the timing is really tricky and it'll just take you a while to get used to it. But in the corner, you do this and call the cameo in and you get a combo off that. You can also get a combo off his backstone in the corner if you time it correctly. Again, the timing on that is tricky as well. But over time, I would move over towards Cyrax, but I would recommend starting off with Jax. You can honestly just use Jax too if you're more of your playstyle is more of combos and getting maximum amount of damage. But these are the two cameos I would recommend. I wouldn't start off with any other ones. I would stick to these two, and then after you're more familiar with the character, then kind of move towards different ones. But yeah, we'll move into the B&B section next. Alright, next we'll go over all of his B&Bs. This section is a little weird for Raiden just because I think all of his combos are basically the exact same. So this section will actually be quite short, and honestly when you guys are going through these character guides, I think the B&Bs are the least important section as well, just because you want to learn how to actually play the character, what buttons are good, how to open people up. But generally after any hit confirm, doesn't matter what string it is, you want to go into this. If you don't have meter, you go into cameo and then follow up. If you do have meter, then you go into 4-3-4. So one combo will look something like this. And 4-2-2, fall again, 4-1, or 4-2 again, and then standing 3, down 4-2 again. You can mix it up. You don't have to call in a cameo every single time either. Like, for example, let's say I want to call in one cameo. So it'll just be the exact same thing. Then I'll just do this instead. And then standing 3 for that. Also, timing doesn't matter. You could do the cameo later if you want. You could do it earlier. So I'll do it later this time. So this time I'll meter burn first, and then I'll do the cameo after. And then you could also meter burn this twice if you want. Also in the corner, you could do stuff like, so usually if you amplify twice, the combo will just end. But depending on the gravity and if you, let's say you do this, and you do it again, you can actually get a down one. Like, I think it's pretty situational, but I did want to point it out. So you could do stuff like that. But yeah, all of his routes are the exact same. I guess another combo I could show you guys is 4-3-4, so. The timing is a little bit more strict on this one. And then you can even cut back again if you want. Meter burn again, like, again, the combos are very straightforward. You kind of do the same routes every single time. One thing that is a little bit different is, let's say you do it off an anti-air. So sometimes when you do an anti-air, this won't work. Depending on what the gravity is, so let's say you do like, so it won't work there. So if there's gravity and this won't work, like, then I would recommend doing something like this. Just go into that, go into the again, and then you end it however you want. Sometimes when the cameo is too far away, depending on how, if you mess up the timing for this, so let's say you delay it by accident or something. So let's say you do this again. If you're too far away, you think, and you won't reach, just go into back forward 3. That's really it for the B&Bs. One thing I do want to point out is his fatal blow stuff. So his fatal blow is a little bit tricky to hit confirm into in terms of certain strings won't work. So if this doesn't work, this won't combo. Like usually for characters stuff like this works, but for Raiden it doesn't. So keep that in mind. If you want to hit confirm into it without spending meter, I recommend using this string. And on the last hit, there's a combo. And then another string it combos off of is 4-4-3. And then also, if you ever hit a meter burn and you want to go into it, use the info fatal blow and it'll hit. So that's it for the B&Bs. If you guys have any questions, or you know, maybe there's a combo that I haven't seen yet, but usually these are the routes I take. I would recommend just starting off with these combos. Just mix up the routes, call in the cameo, then meter burn, or meter burn first. It doesn't really matter, but just follow these basic steps and the combos are really easy. Every single time you touch the character, you're getting 50%. So this character is really, really good. But yeah, that's really it for the B&Bs.
Not test me.
Alright, for the last part of the guide, we're just going to be going over his strengths and weaknesses. So honestly, I was thinking about his weaknesses for this part of the guide, and he doesn't really have any like glaring weaknesses to me at all. I think the only thing that kind of bothers me with this character is if you do 4-4-3 from max range, this will whiff. That's not even that big of a weakness because you can still get around with doing 4-2-2 into it. So I don't know, this character does not have a hard time with opening people up. He has an overhead, he has a low, he has a good mid, he has good staggers, good buttons, and really, really good damage. He's every single part of this character just like makes a top tier character. So I really don't see any like glaring weaknesses with this character at all. From this range it can be a little bit annoying, but that's not even that big of a deal because you have a projectile. He also has a teleport, which is good for counter zoning. Let's say you read loot during a low projectile or something, teleport, free damage, 50% every single time you touch him. So very, very strong character. I think he's like a top 3 to top 5 character. It's hard to say exactly where he sits, but I would think he's closer to top 3 than top 5. But really, really strong character. I highly recommend you guys try him out. He's also really fun. But yeah, that's really gonna do it for the Raiden guide, and I just wanted to go over his strengths and weaknesses one more time. But overall, alright everyone, that's gonna do it for the Raiden guide. I do hope it was really helpful. The B&B section, I want to just talk about one more time because I know it might seem like brief, but it's just because his combos are very simple and it's just one route that you want to go to. After you start playing the character, you might find different routes. Like for example, if someone jumps in, you can kind of get away with doing like stand 3-4 or something like that. It's all situational, but generally you're always going to want to go into this, call a cameo in, and then follow up with like 4-2-2 for example, or 4-3-4. If you meter burn it, you just want to go into 4-3-4. And yeah, overall he's a pretty simple character to learn, honestly. One thing I do want to point out is after you hit this, the timing on this might be a little bit tricky, but you just want to time it to exactly when he lands. You don't want to do it too early or too late. So it's like he lands, as soon as you hear him like land and kind of do the animation where he kind of breaks their back, that's when you want to go into 4-3-4. And just make sure when you're trying to open people up, don't forget to use this. Like condition them a lot with this, so that's when you're going to want to start using the low. Don't be afraid to zone, and use your teleport only as a read. When you're very sure they're gonna throw a projectile or something and you're making a hard read, that's when you teleport, because you're gonna get punished if you do it too often. It's too predictable. And yeah, I kind of covered everything I wanted to. I hope the guide is helpful, and I think you guys will have a really good time with this character. He is extremely strong. He's very broken, really good damage, and overall just great character. So highly recommend you guys try him out. And yeah, so I just want to end off with saying that you can also check out all the things shown in this video in the text version via the link in the description. And if you like this video, please leave a like or comment below with your thoughts. And thanks again for watching. Any comments, just leave them below and I'll try my best to answer them. Alright, thanks again everyone, take care.